Nathan Landmon, Audiobook Demo. The Ruby of Kish from Tales of Pirates and Buccaneers by Howard Pyle. As Jonathan concluded his reply, the little gentleman suddenly arose from his chair and moved briskly around to the other side of the room. Watching him with some surprise, Jonathan observed him go to the door and with a single movement shoot the bolt and turn the key. The next instant he turned to Jonathan, suddenly transformed, as though he had dropped a mask from his face. The gossiping and polite little old bachelor was there no longer, but in his stead a man with a face convulsed with some furious and nameless passion. "That ball!" he cried in a hoarse and loud voice. "That ivory ball! Give it to me now." Skywalking: The Life and Films of George Lucas by Dale Pollock. Coppola was living the dream George had always nourished. Here was a man who had an idea for a film, wrote and directed it, then made it the way he wanted to, with no studio executive or producer, no one telling him what to do artistically. Lucas was hopelessly smitten with the idea of a personal film. There was also something adventurous and roguish about striking across the country in a caravan of trucks and cars, invading locations in their cheap motels, waging art as an army might wage war. Sleeping 4 crew members to a room brought back Lucas's memories of his racing days, a favorite and romantic period in his life. He became the production's Boy Friday, the official sounding board for the stream of ideas constantly emanating from Coppola's fertile imagination. Francis also made sure George worked on his THX script, which Coppola planned to take to Warner Brothers as part of a package of movie ideas. To prove his good intentions, Coppola had Warner Brothers 7 Arts advance Lucas $3,000 as an option on THX. The payment also became George's salary for working on Rain People. Lucas laughs about it now. "I was making money for writing the screenplay rather than for working on the film, so in effect, Francis got a free crew member." The Eye of Mines by James Dashner. A couple of hours after breakfast, Michael's real body was snug inside the coffin, while his liberated Vertnet body sat down on an out-of-the-way bench in New York's Central Park, another one of his favorite meeting spots. The second best thing to virtual food was to be surrounded by nature, a sight he didn't see too often in the smoggy concrete jungle he called home. Bryson and Sarah were waiting impatiently when he arrived. "This better be good," Bryson announced. "Like, wet my pants good." "Why were you so cryptic anyway?" Sarah added. Michael wasn't so much scared anymore as excited to spill everything that had happened since getting nabbed in the alley. A little worried that someone could be eavesdropping, he started his story in a whisper, but soon was speeding through the details so fast he was barely coherent. Sarah and Bryson just stared at him in confusion. Maybe you should start over," Bryson said. Sarah nodded. "From the beginning, and talk like a normal person." "Okay, yeah." Michael inhaled a long pull of fresh but fake air and started over. "So I was walking to catch the train for school yesterday when this car pulls up and practically runs me down. Then these psycho dudes in black masks jump out and drag me into the back seat." Bryson interrupted. "Wait, Michael, did you eat something funny today?" Michael rolled his eyes. "No, just listen." He couldn't blame them for having doubts, but he was starting to get frustrated that he couldn't get his story out. He took another breath and kept going, and by the time he got to Agent Weber discovering he'd been followed and having her guards whisk him away, he could see that his friends believed he was dead serious. He finished up by relaying the horrible things from the news bops, most of which they'd heard themselves. They sat in silence for at least a minute, stealing glances at the trees and bushes around them to see if anyone might be spying. Bryson broke the silence. "Wow, why would they ask 3 teenagers to solve their problems?" "I've been thinking about that," Michael said. Agent Weber said others would be searching too. Maybe they're finding the best gamers and coders around and giving them an opportunity to crack whatever secret location Kane has created. She knew we could hack and code. I'm telling you, it wasn't a joke. But how can we do anything the VNS people can't do? Sarah asked. That's their whole job. And frankly, it scares me that they're trying to pawn it off on kids. Bryson scoffed. Old geezers always know that the next generation is smarter than they'll ever be at this stuff. I mean, we hang out in this place. We do know it better than anyone. We can do it because it's not our job. It's our hobby. The Winning Attitude by John C. Maxwell. Recently, I talked with Mary Vaughn, who was once the head of counseling in the Cincinnati elementary school system. I asked her to pinpoint the main problems she noticed in counseling situations. John, she said immediately, most children's psychological problems stem from their lack of acceptance and affirmation from parents and peers. Mary continually emphasized that economic level, professional or social strata, and other factors in which society put so much value were insignificant. Then she told me a story about Dennis, aged 10. This third grader was always fighting, lying, and causing disturbances with his classmates. He believed, no one likes me, the teacher just picks on me. He would not respond to the people who really cared for him and tried to help the most. His problem? He wanted his mother's affirmation and love so much that he lived in a fantasy world, always talking of his mother's love. In reality, his mother did nothing to affirm him. Dennis's need for care was so great that he fantasized about his mother's love and directed his bad attitude toward others. Unlike Dennis, I was privileged to grow up in a very affirming family. I never questioned my parents' love and acceptance. They were continually affirming their love through action and words. Now, Margaret and I have tried to create this same environment for our children. The other day, we were talking about the importance of showing love to our children. We concluded that our kids see or sense our acceptance and affirmation at least 30 times a day. That's not too much. Have you ever been told too many times that you are important, loved, and appreciated? Remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.